Gage Bronies, is Averd back with you again. Welcome here to some more TCG content. Hope you guys are enjoying the variety of content that I'm doing now. Not only doing just the TCG, but the VGC is back as well. And I'm hoping to get some other stuff recorded soon. I was doing a fun Smash Bros session actually with a few friends last night. So if I could potentially record that on the Elgato soon, that would be dope, because I think that'd be another really cool thing to show off. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But today, we have a really fun deck to show off. This is Sobiquak's winning list from the International Championship in Melbourne, which I obviously went to, and Sobi actually is quite a good friend of mine. So Sobi was in the senior division. I actually kind of carpooled him to most of the events we have in South Australia. Really good kid, and we were super proud of him for winning the IC with this Mewtwo Malamar list. I used a very similar list to this at the IC, and didn't perform super great, but there were a few things that Sobi kind of changed that were like really pivotal. So basically, like, Sobi created a list, and then myself and Calvin went in with that list to the IC, and Calvin and I both got smashed. And we effectively, well, Calvin just told Sobi like what people were running to count and sort of things. So Sobi kind of learned that people were using the Wob in the mill decks, so they could stop Ditto Prism Star, which both Calvin and I ran. And then they were running the Aerodactyl, so that if Mewtwo tried to copy Naganador's Stinger, then they would use Aerodactyl's Wild Dive to knock out Mewtwo. So what Sobi did, which ended up being incredibly powerful, there were two big changes Sobi made to his list compared to Calvin and I's, which I think if Calvin and I had made those changes, our days would have been completely different. He dropped the Ditto Prism Star and put in a Poipole. That way he could actually just manually evolve into the Naganador, use the Stinger GX, and then if Aerodactyl went for the Wild Dive, it would knock out that, but they'd only take 2 prizes from it. So that meant that then Sobi could go in with the Blacephalon and then you know, just win the game that way. He wouldn't be able to lose from there. He'd be able to Stinger, and then even if the Aerodactyl was able to get the knockout, then Sobi was just 3 prizes away, and he could easily just, you know, spread damage around and finish the game off from there. So, really solid strat. I think the change was, I can't remember what the other card we had was. I don't think it was 2 Trev Noir. There was definitely one other card that we were running. It may have been a 4th Jirachi, so he dropped the 4th Jirachi to put in a Copycat Mimikyu, which was really, as obviously we know now in the current meta, Copycat Mimikyu was amazing, because I guess we just weren't expecting, we knew there'd be a lot of ADP Zacian, but we weren't expecting half the field to be ADP Zacian. So then Sobi running the Mimikyu allowed that matchup to become a lot easier for him to win. But yeah, this is a pretty cool list. Honestly, really excited to try this. I think what I like the most about this deck is I feel, funnily enough, in the current meta, like obviously we have no tournaments that are going on, but in the current meta, I feel like this is one of the only decks that has a good matchup against everything that is in the meta right now, which is a weird thing to say, but yeah, I honestly do feel like this is the deck that can handle the most things. So let's break down kind of what the deck's revolved around. So it combines the Mewtwo and Mew GX with the Malamar, Malamar being able to Psychic Recharge onto the Mewtwo, and then Mewtwo being able to copy a bevy of attackers, or alternatively, you can just use as attackers on their own. So let's just go through each Pokemon in order here. So we've got the Absol in here for a couple of reasons. Dark Ambition primarily is why it's in here, you know, to make Jirachis harder to continually loop for opponents. But the other really clutch thing about Absol is the Shadow Seeker attack. You might not think Shadow Seeker is that great, but with an Aurora attached to Absol and then 2 Psychic Recharge, Shadow Seeker, for example, in the mirror match against a Gengar Mimikyu, you have to remember that because of Absol, Gengar Mimikyu has a 3 retreat cost, which means that Shadow Seeker does exactly 120, which will knock out a Gengar and Mimikyu because it hits for weakness, which is Dark, so that's 240. Same goes for Trevenant and Dusknoir. That goes up to a 4 retreat cost, which means that Absol's attack does 150, and then with weakness that does 300. So then Trevenant and Dusknoir gets knocked out. So it's an incredibly pivotal card in the mirror match. It definitely won me a couple of my mirrors. I mean, like I said, I played 5 mirrors, but the issue was that every single opponent played a different tech, so it was super annoying. But yeah, Absol, incredibly solid card. Then we got the Ultra Necrozma. This is good for a couple of different matchups. It is fantastic with Photon guys, though it is a big kind of, what we call it, nuke. That's what I'm looking for. nuke attack that a Mewtwo can use to just one-shot anything. Ultra could also just use it if it wants to, and it is incredibly impactful. And also the other clutch thing they have access to is the Sky Scorching Light GX. This is really important for the one prizer matchups. You're able to quite easily deal, well, not quite easily deal with them, but you can chip with Giratinas and stuff and then set up for a Sky Scorching Light for game. I would say the only tricky matchup for this deck potentially is Spell Tag Malamar, just given that they can spread out a lot more damage than you can, but usually they, in that matchup, you want to be using things like Trevnoir to chip everything instead of Mewtwo, and that way you can also just use your Giratina on loop, and yes, you'll take a bit more Spell Tag damage, but if they're not running SBDO or Ultra Necrozma, then you can set up a later game situation where you can go for the Sky Scorching Light to win. I go to Denaid here just to, you know, keep resources flowing. We've got the Celowish Jirachi, bit of a no-brainer, it's almost in every deck. We've got the Fireworks Bomb Bucephalon, really good card. Again, like for that Malamar matchup, insanely good. It's also basically auto wins the Baby Blance matchup. Incredibly strong against Mill, because like I said, you can use Stinger from Naganadel GX to put them down to 3 prizes, and then spam Fireworks Bomb until you win the game. Gengar Mimikyu, because a lot of times, unfortunately I only got to do this once in the entire IC, but it happened to me about 4 times. You can just donk your opponent with Horror House into Poltergeist. So they open with the Pokemon, they can't advance their board state, they pass their turn, you go into your turn, attach 1 energy, Horror House, they have to draw and pass, you just attach 1 more energy and knock out with the Poltergeist, and the game could just be wrapped up right there and then. So incredibly strong card. Got the 1 Giratina in here, just as a like recursion thing with Distortion Door. In some matchups against other 1 prize decks, this is your attacker of choice, just to keep on bringing back and using the regular Malamar engine to do its thing. Like I said, the regular Malamar engine means we need the Inkays and we need the Malamars. Not a full count, because this deck isn't as solely reliant on consistently pumping out the Psychic Recharge, and because of the amount of attackers you have, you can't afford to run a 4-4 line of them. Got the 1 Latios, because Tag Purge is still incredibly strong, and Clear Vision in some matchups is incredibly pivotal, especially against the ADP Zacian and Ultimate Mewtwo. They are the 2 matchups where you absolutely want to be trying to fire off a Clear Vision. 2 of the Mewtwo to be able to copy attacks. I don't think you'd want any more than this, because again, you can just use the base attackers. Mewtwo is just nice sometimes to hit for a certain weakness, or compared to Trevenant, Dusknoir, and Gengar Mimikyu, you might not want to use their attacks at a certain time, and you might want to use something else, so yeah. Just having those options is great. Mimikyu, because Copycat is absolutely busted, and then the Poipole, and then the 2 different Nagos. So we have Stinger, and then we also have the Venom Shot. Now, one thing I did learn that was quite good, it came in clutch in one of my games, was that you can evolve the Poipole into this Naganadel in some matchups, and then use Ultra Conversion, because you have the Ultra Necrozma, you have the Baby Blayan, you've got the other Naganadel as well, and you can discard all those for Ultra Conversion and draw 3 cards, and it can get you out of some pretty tight spots. It did clutch me a game doing that. I discarded the Stinger Naganadel after using Ultra Conversion, and I was able to draw into a great catcher for game doing that. Lastly, the attackers is Trevenant and Dusknoir GX. Absolutely busted card. Obviously has been ridiculously good in Expanded, but it is also incredibly good just in general. Nightwatch is a crazy good attack, 150, and then Shuffling. So it basically 2-shots everything in the meta, and then Hand Disruption is great. Pale Moon is also really good, like Reset Stamp into Pale Moon can just win you games. We want the double Great Catcher to gust up all the things that we need. It's the only form of gust we actually have in this deck, but the gust isn't as important against, like, say, the Mill matchups, because we have the Bucephalon. 4 Treasure, 4 Quick Ball, as expected. We got the 1 Ordinary Rod, because this does get us back things like the Mimikyu, and it also gets us back things like a Malamar line if one does get knocked out. 2 Reset Stamp to make Trevnoir more disruptive. 4 Switch, because obviously in this meta you need that. 2 Forest, Stadium of Choice. Then we run the 4, I believe it's 4 Mani, 4 Research, I could be wrong. Let's scroll down and see the counts. No, 3 Mani, 4 Research, 1 Board, 2 Aurora, 1 Metal, and 7 Psychic. So yeah, pretty cool deck. Obviously it did really well for Sobi. I think what helped him do so well at the IC was seeing how we went day 1 in Masters, and knowing like what he had to fix up to make his deck better in some of the crucial matchups. I think that was a massive bonus for him. So we are going to get into this game against Peeb. I'm not really sure what they're running. We see Lightning, Water, Steel, or sorry, Metal. So I have to assume it's Pikarom. Now, Pikarom is quite a favorable matchup for this deck. So we're going to see what they choose to do. They do choose to go first. And we do have a Mulligan. Honestly, I'm kind of okay with this Mulligan. It's a pretty dead hand if I had to open with it. So I don't mind giving my opponent an extra draw if I can open with that Jirachi, which I do. This is actually a much better hand for us right now. Holy doolies, this is very, very nice. We've got the Mani for Disruption as well. We've got the Treasure, discarding a Giratina, which is fantastic. So we do see our opponent open, and it is going to be Pikarom. So the Pikarom tactic is a pretty kind of streamlined one. The way that it normally works is that Tag Purge is incredibly strong in the early game. So it's definitely something we want to go for immediately. We don't run Mew in this list. Maybe that was a card that I chucked in to my list, was 3 Jirachi and then 1 Mew, because I was worried about Pikarom. But really, Pikarom ain't that big of a deal. You can kind of just pump out things pretty quickly. We are going to see the Coco Prism start immediately, though, which is going to put some pressure on for sure. But I think we can handle this just fine. We do see the Dead change. They're probably going to get rid of a Lightning. So very good start by my opponent. We're going to have to see how we can come back from this. I think the plan, honestly, for me, will be probably trying to Horror House if I can with a Mewtwo. I think Horror House into knocking out Pikarom is my play, right? So we have options here. We have a lot of options. I like going for Great Catcher. I like going... I don't think I want to Mani, as crazy as that sounds. I may actually Dead change this hand away. Because like I said, the aim is I want to go Gengar Mimikyu here, I think. So make sure we have it. So we definitely want Mewtwo here. Mewtwo is going to be our attacker of choice. So you definitely want him down. We can afford to discard the Mani with Quick Ball to get it to Dene. And then we won't be able to Great Catcher though, which seems kind of bad. So let's see if maybe we'll just, let's Quick Ball away the Mani, that could be bad. Do I Quick Ball away the Great Catcher? I think I'm going to play out my entire hand regardless, so I think I'm going to Quick Ball away the Great Catcher. And I think we grab the Dedenne, for sure. Because then I can attach, yeah, I can do it that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to the Stellar Wish for now. I'm going to go Aurora onto the Mewtwo, discarding a Mani. Now, I could use a Switch right now, but I know there's 3 more Switch in deck and a potential Escape board. So I think I actually will choose the Dead change because I still have my supporter for turn. Okay, this is... what on earth? Okay, that's kind of bad. I didn't expect that to be what I came out with. But that's okay. We're gonna bring back Giratina here. I was really hoping that would be a little bit better, but sure, we'll go with it. So in terms of prize trading, we just want to chip both of these guys for now. We really could use a supporter here. We do hit 2. Honestly, I'm very much considering going for the research here, getting those energies in the discard. Again, like I said, I'm trying to push for that. I lose a Malamar, which kind of sucks, but I am pushing for that Gengar Mimikyu play, which we do appear to have on lock now, which is great. So let's treasure away the Ultra Necrozma. Let's grab ourselves an Inkay to get down the board, and then, oh, you know what, I kind of misplayed there. I should have used that to grab the Gengar Mimikyu and then discarded it with a Quick Ball. So that's a bit of a misplay on my part. I'm going to have to bench the Gengar Mimikyu now, which I'm not a huge fan of doing, but it is very important for this matchup. So we're going to get rid of the Poipole. But yeah, that's a misplay for me for sure, but we might be okay with it. So we're going to bring up our Gengar Mimikyu here, and we are going to retreat out to the Mewtwo. We are going to go for that Horror House GX right now. I don't mind this though, because if we Mani into like a Malamar and a way to switch, then we can set up for the Tag Purge. And that's the whole point of this matchup. If we can get off the Tag Purge, I feel like we have a very good chance to win the game, which is what I want to hunt for here. So they're going to Stellar Wish and grab a Volcanic into their hand, which is great for us. It gives us a chance to actually get a knockout with Poltergeist. That is the other play, obviously, is being able to Great Catcher and Poltergeist. So we'll see what we can top deck here. It is another Aurora energy, which is fantastic. So we do have the option to Poltergeist here. Not sure if it is my best play though. I think actually what I want to do is I want to put an Aurora on the Mewtwo, discarding the Absol. I'm going to Mani because I think if I can get off the Tag Purge this turn, it is my best possible play. So I want to try and see if I can find a switch off this Mani. We don't find a switch, unfortunately. That's really, really bad. That is very, very bad. Although we have kept their hand low, they do still have the Coco Prism Star, which should be able to get them off a full blitz next turn, which is what I was trying to avoid. But it is what it is. That is super frustrating. I think we're going to have to declare Poltergeist and hope there's 2 trainers in hand as well. Not really ideal. I don't think there's any other attacker that I can really throw out there. I kind of want to hold everything in hand right now. So yeah, we're going to Poltergeist. And we're going to hope there's 2 in hand. There definitely is. We do get the knockout. I do have the Thunder Mountain though, so they're going to be able to get a full blitz off, which is what I was concerned with for sure. Yeah, we just haven't been able to hit the switches. Definitely the misplay also was benching Gengar Mimikyu. I think it's just not very good to have on the bench. We are going to get full blitz next turn. However, if we can get the return knockout, this could be okay, you know. If we can get the return knockout on the Pikarom, then I think things could actually be alright. And I actually think at this stage we do get the return knockout with Photon Geyser. If I'm not mistaken here, I think Photon Geyser would get the return knockout because Geyser tells us to remove... it's all basic Psychics. So we actually can't really declare Geyser because Auroras are not basic Psychics. So that is very unfortunate for us. However, we do have some options. If we ran Low Puff right now, we would be in a good spot. I still think we're in an okay spot because they are going to full blitz us, and then our reply... It's tricky because they're going to be able to full blitz us and then charge up their Coco. So our reply is a little bit tricky. We have to get a couple of knockouts here in succession, which aren't looking super likely. The mapping to winning here is knocking out Pikarom and then knocking out Dene. So with a big charm on Pikarom, that's now become a little bit trickier. I'm trying to think if there's any attack that we can declare that would grab us a knockout. Only one I could imagine would have been Geyser, but it won't work due to us not having any basic energy. We could attempt to Stamp, but that seems really risky. We are going to see the full blitz. We're definitely in a bad spot. I don't see us clutching this on, because the problem right now is they're going to charge up the Coco. We can Tag Purge here, because I don't know who the hell you are. Going to get rid of that. We do have a Switch, so the Switch is very good. Switch is very good for us. We could charge up a Gengar Mimikyu here and then go in with it. If we can find a Reset Stamp, that could be really nice. So I don't mind that play. So I think I want to switch into the Jirachi. We could set up a Gengar Mimikyu here. So what I want to do is I want to Quick Ball probably away the Blacephalon here. We're going to try and grab that Latios, which is unfortunately prized. So that makes things incredibly difficult, but it's okay. I think what we want to do here then is grab... I think we want to grab the Mimikyu. Yeah, I think we'll grab the Trevnoir right now. And we may just have to research. We do lose a lot of cards in hand by doing that, and there'll be a lot of Psychics in the discard, but I think it's what we have to do. And then we'll probably just use Trevnoir's attack here. My idea is that we can then use Mimikyu on the turn afterwards. So that's the line of sight that I'm going with here. So we're gonna research. Okay, cool. This is fantastic. So we have the Malamar in play, and by chipping this Pikarom to half, then after doing that we can knock it out with a Giratina. So that's my other plan here. Actually, what I could do, which is much better potentially, is I could knock out the Dene right now with a Great Catcher into Nightwatch, and then all I have to do is knock out a Pikarom. However, knocking out the Pikarom is going to be incredibly difficult for me. I think I hold on to the Great Catcher, I don't make any silly plays, and I can just use Giratina to kind of finish that off next time. So let's grab an Energy with Psychic Recharge onto Giratina. We have the Mimikyu in hand, ready to go for next turn. Let's Stellar Wish, see what we can find. We do see a Marnie, which could be very good. I do like Marnie heading into next turn, for sure. Because we are going to get another Inkay down on our next turn. But what I just want to do this turn is just use the Night Watch on our opponent here. Now we just want to get that chip. Now we want to disrupt their hand a little bit. Double Electro Power back into the deck is fine by me. They can get the knockout now with a full blitz if they want to. We can return that knockout though with Giratina, and then if they attack us with the Tapu Koko V, then we can return knockout that as well with with, what do you call it, the Mimikyu, using Copycat. So that's the whole plan that I have for taking these last 5 prizes, is either now gusting up and knocking out Pikarom, or alternatively, like there's options here. It depends on what my opponent wants to do with Volkner, right? So if they grab, say, catches and they try and knock out the Malamar, then I can just attach to the Mewtwo, and I can snipe the Pikarom on the bench, and then I can also bench an Inkay, and then next turn I can evolve into Malamar, bench the Mimikyu, and then attach to that, and that should be game. So we'll see what my opponent wants to do. Gonna get down another Inkay hopefully next turn. Actually, I probably won't be able to, but that's okay. They're going to quick ball probably for another Dedenne here, if I was going to assume. I actually think we're not in a bad spot now. Our mapping seems pretty solid, and they don't have a guaranteed way to win the game just yet. The thing I'm worried about, though, is the fact that I benched the Gengar Mimikyu, so they do have the potential to Great Catcher into double Electro Power. However, like I said, actually, it's going to be really hard if what their plan is to get this Coco V into active now. Then if I can get the Mimikyu down and get the knockout that way, then I feel pretty confident that I can wrap the game up. As long as I don't have any hand disruption, I think we have everything we need to win, but we'll have to wait and see. Definitely going to be hard. Definitely, especially like I've discarded a lot of energies. We see a big charm come down onto the other Pikarom. Luckily that wasn't onto the Coco, and we see a full blitz come out from my opponent. So this is pretty good. Not really, it's actually kind of bad. So the reason this is bad is because all they need now is Electro Powers, and we're kind of screwed. So I have to hope that I can draw into a Reset Stamp. Reset Stamp here would be like the perfect thing to draw into. We can get the reverse knockout here though, and I think I'm going to hold on to Mimikyu and get another Inkay down. I think that there is a chance that I could copy attacks with other things, and I do think Marnie is actually the play, funnily enough. I think another Inkay down, and then I can knock this out with Giratina. And then I need a hunt for the Reset Stamp, obviously. So I think what I want to do here is I want to attach to Giratina. I'm going to recharge and grab an energy for Giratina as well. I'm going to bench that Inkay, like I said. And then I'm going to throw down that Marnie. I'm going to try and disrupt my opponent's hand a little bit. Don't want them to get into everything that they need. There is the Reset Stamp, which is definitely something that I wanted this turn. There is an energy as well. There's a Viridian Forest, so I can bump their stadium, which is fantastic. We have the treasure, which I can use to grab a Malamar for next turn. I'm not going to use it now, though. I'm just going to hold on to it. We do see a Switch as well, which can be quite pivotal. So I'm going to grab the Switch. Out of all those cards, Switch seems the best. So we're limiting our opponent's hand. I could Reset Stamp them down to that little bit of a lower hand. I don't honestly mind that, because the next turn is the crucial one, right? I'm going to push through the rest of my deck to get to a Great Catcher to finish the game off against the Dedenne, I think. So I think it is fine. Like, we Reset Stamp now, because if they can't knock us out on this next turn, like if they can't knock out Gengar Mimikyu, I'll just win the game. So I think I'm going to retreat out to Giratina, Shadow Impact for the knockout, and then put the damage on myself. And so I put him in a situation of saying you need double Electro Power on your Coco to win the game, and a Great Catcher. So like, it's a lot of things to ask for, whereas all I need now is to essentially play my research down, and then I can just gust up the Dedenne and potentially win. I treasure and I grab what's it called? I think the other Mewtwo is still priced. So we see the catcher, they whiff the catcher. That's fantastic for us. That is insanely good. If they full blitz as well, then we just grab the Mimikyu and we copycat. If they elect to full blitz, then we should have the game wrapped up. We do see an Electro Power, we do see a Research, so they are digging for sure. They need one more Electro Power and a Great Catcher to win the game. We just got to hope they can't get to it. Them getting that Research there is absolutely huge. We've done everything we can, but unfortunately, the mistake early game of benching that Gengar is going to come back and haunt me. They need one more energy on their Pikarom, which they could have with an energy switch to be able to declare Tag Bolt. Nope, they're just full blitz. Cool. So I believe we have the game wrapped up now, guys. Judging on the amount of cards we have left in deck, I think we should be able to take it. I just want to make sure I get my sequencing right, but Full Blitz is an attack that does 150 damage. We can copycat that and knock out its Dedenne, so we are going to Mysterious Treasure here. Discard that Latios, and we are going to grab that copycat Mimikyu real quick. We are going to bench that Mimikyu, we are going to attach an energy to it, and we are going to Psychic Recharge it. So the Mimikyu is good to go. And then all I have to do here is Professor's Research and draw into the Great Catcher. There it is. And then we just Great Catcher, and we bring up that Dedenne that got the chip from Giratina. We can even evolve onto here if we want to. And then what we can just do is retreat out to the Mimikyu, and we can copycat the full blitz for the knockout to take those last 2 prizes. So even with the misplay there, we were able to push through and get the dub. Definitely could have lost that game if the Gengar Mimikyu was on the bench. Without the Gengar Mimikyu on the bench, I think that game was absolutely locked up. So even with that poor start that we had, and allowing them to full blitz, we had a pretty easy line of victory that we were able to take in the end. So I'm pretty happy with how that went. Definitely though, I would recommend if you are using this list to discard your Gengar Mimikyu. You don't want to bench it. So we're in another game now. I'm not sure what my opponent's running. I wasn't actually looking at what the cards in their deck were. I kind of like it that way too, because you kind of go in a bit more blind. So we're probably going to go second here. Yeah, that's fine. Like I said, it does open up the chance, as you can see with his hand perfectly encapsulating, the chance to just simply donk them with the Horror Houses. It is an incredibly strong opening hand for us. And we see 2 cards from my opponent. And it is ADP's last gen. Okay, so our whole plan really is just going to be to... our whole plan revolves around going for the Clear Vision here. And once we Clear Vision, we can kind of just shut them down. So we're going to get the Mewtwo down. We may even get the Latios down here. It's going to be like all eggs in the basket at this stage. We are going to see the Absol come down, so they're really going to try and shut down the chance of us going for that Clear Vision, which is fair enough. I do feel like if we get it off though, we are just in a phenomenal position. We see them discard an energy, and they lose a Custom Catcher. Losing a Custom Catcher is very, very important in this matchup. They definitely would like those Custom Catchers. Now, ideally, if we can Clear Vision with Latios, I would much prefer that. So I may choose to actively search it here. I just prefer that to the Mewtwo, because I don't want the Mewtwo taking any unnecessary damage in this game. We do see our opponent forego an escape board here to grab a Jirachi, which means they're probably holding another one in their hand. I'd be surprised if they were discarding it for any reason. We see a Scoop Up fail, which is fantastic for us. And then an Intrepid Sword. So we'll see if they grab any energy off the Intrepid Sword. No energy. So no energy attachment for turn either, which means we don't even have to Clear Vision here. We can go very much on the offensive against our opponent. So we could even choose here if we wanted to go for a Poltergeist play. I don't think that's super great though. I think what we just want to do is try... Well, actually, we could go for the Horror House and then try and push into a... yeah, I got ideas swirling in the head here. So we're going to go for a Quick Ball. We're going to get rid of that Marnie, and we're going to grab us... let's see. So we definitely want Gengar Mimikyu, right? Definitely want Gengar Mimikyu. We're going to attach to the Mewtwo. We're going to treasure away the Gengar Mimikyu and grab... We don't need Latios, we need Trevenant Dusknoir for the next turn. And then we're going to Quick Ball away Trevenant and Dusknoir to grab an Inkay. Okay, we have 3 Malamar as well. Good, good, good. Grab us an Inkay, bench that Inkay, and then research for 7. So there's our Malamar, and we also have the Escape Board. Not going to be super pivotal though. The thing that we actually need right now is the Switch. I will chuck it on there though, just because. Definitely do need that Switch. That would be the ideal card to get this turn. However, I am not opposed to grabbing another Inkay on this turn, and we will see what we can fish out with a Stellar Wish here. And we do get the Switch. That is fantastic for us. That is amazing. So we do hit the Switch, which means we can go into the Mewtwo this turn for sure. And I'm feeling pretty confident that we can just declare Horror House GX on our opponent here, and we can go from there. Because like next turn, the whole plan is they can't attach at all. They could Intrepid Sword, but Intrepid Sword could be really bad for them because it can potentially set up a knockout. So I don't think they'd be wanting to do that. They add that to hand, but that's not going to matter because we have Marnie going into. So they choose to Intrepid Sword, which is incredibly dangerous because it gives them such a huge hand that there is a good chance we could just get a knockout with Poltergeist. I have a difficult choice to make this turn. I can either choose to Marnie and then go for a potential Trevnoir play, or I think I just play it safe. My opponent has no energy on the board. I am just going to discard that Psychic Energy, and I am going to declare Poltergeist. I think that would be enough for a knockout. And it is enough for a knockout. Big 400 damage and 3 prize cards. Our opponent has nothing set up on a Zacian yet. And we just got effectively three prizes, and we can kind of roll from here. Next turn we have a Malamar already set up, so if they bring up a Zacian to knock us out, then we have the potential to go from there. They are going to try and Crushing Hammer us here. They do fail it. So, I mean, the Crushing Hammer isn't too big of a deal. The Yell Grunt, putting that back in hand, is also not too big of a deal. We have a second Malamar coming up if we want it. They're going to set up a Zacian, which is kind of fine. Like, I don't know, I feel like we're in a really strong spot. Especially if we can also find a way to get the Mewtwo out of active with like a switch. It's very hard though, because we need to also then recharge energy to the Jirachi. The Absol making things slightly annoying, but nothing that we honestly can't handle right now. Definitely next turn Mimikyu would be awesome if we could get it. But honestly, I just feel very strong about our position right now. I think if we can just knock out a Zacian, we should be able to win the game. So I think that Horror House was perfect. It got us into a position where we were able to just win the game. So I feel pretty confident, especially if my opponent, as it looks like they can't, they should be able to like, attach an energy for turn, but if they didn't find a second Saucer, they won't be able to get any damage off on us right now, and they have to discard a bunch more cards. So if they're not able to find an energy attachment for turn, because I believe they played a Saucer this turn, and they also need to find a second Saucer and a way to switch in order for their Zacian to attack. Bearing in mind they discarded an escape board very early in this game, so they may only have one more escape board left and they may not be able to find it. So we see the spinner. I mean, they had a Viridian in place, they could have always just got it with Viridian, but they do attach there. Do they also have the Metal Saucer and the switch card needed to be able to go for a Brave Blade this turn? That is the big question. They do not. That is incredibly strong for us. That is insane. So we are in a phenomenal position. We can even just put down a Malamar just like that. We have one energy already in the discard, so what I'm going to do here is Viridian away my Jirachi for a Psychic Energy, and then what I'm going to do is attach the Psychic Energy to my Mewtwo and discard that Psychic, and then what I'm going to also do is Mysterious Treasure away this energy, and then we can just try and like set up another attacker, honestly. I could grab another Mewtwo and start charging that thing up, so then it's good to go. And then I could use Ultra Necrozma's attack, which could be very, very potent in this matchup. It could just win me the game, honestly, using the Photon Geyser. However, I have charged up this Mewtwo. I could just switch and then do some shenanigans, so we'll see. Is there anything else I'd like to grab? Giratina could also be quite good. I do also like the premise of Venom Shot and a Ganondorf, but I think of everything, since I'm about to Marnie, Mewtwo is fine. So let's grab a Mewtwo. I think Mimikyu is prized as well from what I just saw. And we're going to Marnie my opponent. So we're going to put him down to a low hand. I'm not too worried about the Poltergeist here. I think the positioning we have in this game is currently pretty good. I think we can still Poltergeist and probably find 2 cards in hand to get a knockout if we needed to. We could also try and Stellar Wish. Actually, no, what we can do, we're going to make it really easy for ourselves here. We have 2 Psychic Recharges, so we can recharge once onto Jirachi. And then what we can do is switch the Jirachi into the active and then use the Psychic Recharge onto the Mewtwo, and then we can use Trevenant and Dusknoir's attack to keep them at bay, and then we can use the Mysterious Treasure to grab ourselves the Ganondorf GX. We can kind of checkmate our opponent now. We can just... Honestly, the other thing we can do, judging on the energy counts we have, we can actually bench another Inkay here, which is kind of crazy. Stellar Wish up, let's grab a Research, because that's just going to seal the game next turn. Fantastic, we can just go for the retreat, out to this Mewtwo, and then, yeah, they're just going to scoop, because at that stage, like, we Night Watch them, they have, like, they can bring the Zacian up, but they don't get the knockout, and then next turn, because we have the Viridian, and we have the Ganondorf in hand, if they can't get the knockout, we just attach to the active Mewtwo, and then declare Venom Shot onto the bench to detonate to win the game. So yeah, that was very, very strong showing. Obviously our opponent started quite slow, but not being able to attach an energy on their first turn was incredibly critical, because then they couldn't declare the Altered Creation even for the extra damage, which would have been really good for them if they were able to do that. So we were able to take complete control after that. The Horror House, as much as I was kind of tossing and turning on whether it was the best play to make, it did turn out to be a very solid play. So I am super stoked that that's how it turned out. And we are going to go now into our final game of the episode. We do have the advantage over the Teddy. Not sure what they're running here. Interesting looking list. We do lose the coin flip, so I expect to go second once again. And we are going to see how my opponent opens up here. We do open pretty strong. Again, we have the optimal hand to be able to go for a potential lock. And we just see a Zacian. If all they can do is Intrepid Sword, we have a good chance of just winning immediately. Oh, we do see a tag call, so we could be up against ADP Zacian. Ooh, Luke Medal. Okay, so this is a very interesting matchup. Kind of not ridiculously favored for us. It can be a little bit difficult for sure, but I do think that we have some avenues to be really good here. They don't have a way of immediately knocking us out. And we do have a pretty effective strategy, I think, against the Lucario Melmetal deck. So the strategy that I've seen that can be quite efficient is we could use the Poipole to copy, to use the Stinger GX, and then all we have to do is knock out a Lucario Melmetal using Ultra Necrozma to win the game. So all we need is like a bunch of Mallies and we should be able to do it. So let's get a bunch of Mallies going then. So we'll get rid of the Reset Stamp. Let's grab ourselves an Inkay. How many Mallies we got working with? Perfect. And do we have the Stinger in deck? We certainly do. So this feels very strong. We can just go there. We can go Inkay. Now, I think I'm going to grab Dedenne. Yeah, I think I'm going to grab Dedenne here if I have it. I do. That's fantastic. I'm going to attach onto the Poipole, and then I'm going to Dedenne change. Alright, cool. Get another Inkay, and we have the Great Catcher for when we want to do that play. That's fantastic. We have the Marnie for Disruption here as well. I think I want to play the Marnie before anything else. Just knowing we have the Great Catchers in deck is the most important thing. But disrupting the opponent's hand here is the most critical aspect, as we do find yet another Inkay. So we have pretty much everything we need for the combo pretty much already in our hands. So we're going to put another energy in the discard right now. And what I would like to do is grab the Ultra Necrozma into my hand. Alright, fantastic. And then we're going to fire off that Stellar Wish, and we are going to hit that Mysterious Treasure, which is just brilliant for us. We can, honestly, just sit on this. We can go next turn, double Malamar, charge this bad boy up, or if we hit another Malamar all in a Ganondorf off the top deck, we can declare Stinger, and then all we need is the energies all charged up onto neck, and that should be the game. So we're just going to pass turn. I don't think there's a clear-cut way with 5 cards in hand that my opponent will be able to knock out my Jirachi. So I'm feeling pretty comfortable at this stage. We do see a Frying Pan on Zacian, but Zacian is not the Pokemon I'm actually concerned with. The common conception a lot of people have in this matchup is they just try and target down like everything one-on-one and try and take 6 prizes that way. But I think with a deck that is going to be like super beefy when they use their GX attack, I think the way you have to play it is going for the Stinger and then winning the game off of just knocking out the Luke Medal. I think it is just the optimal play. So we're going to get this evolution off. We can guarantee Stinger this turn, so I think that's definitely something I want to do. So we're going to grab that energy, chuck it over here, and then we're going to treasure away the Gengar Mimikyu and grab the Stinger Naganadel. Definitely the card I want to grab here. We are going to evolve into it. And we are going to put an energy onto it, and then we are going to use Stellar Wish from Jirachi and hopefully hit a good supporter. Now, okay, we hit the research, but we do have an Ordinary Rod in deck, so like the fear is that I could use Mewtwo to copy Ultra Neck. I'd prefer not to though, but here the research is phenomenal for us. We are just going to draw into a bunch of stuff. We do get the Mimikyu. We have double treasure as well, which is incredible. This puts us in a incredibly favorable position now. I'm feeling like we have a pretty good chance of winning this one on the next turn, boys. So we're going to go there. We're going to get all the big boys out of the deck. Dope. So we have like everything we need effectively good to go. The only thing we're lacking maybe is more energies, but we're going to have 3 in the discard once Naganadel dies. So we are going to retreat, go into Naganadel, and we want the Zacian to knock us out in actuality. So we're going to Stinger. We have a Great Catcher, and currently 1 discard fodder in Mimikyu in hand. And we're going to see what my opponent wants to do. They can't take 3 prizes on this turn, but I can take 3 prizes on my next turn. And that's the big thing I'm focusing on. I think the only way they could actually put any kind of pressure on us, is this. Is if they set up their Luca Medal and they're able to get off, well, if they have a way to switch then our plan could be in a slight bit of jeopardy. Well, actually, I don't think it is. We just leave this Naganadel inactive, wait until it gets knocked out, and go from there. We'll see a Marnie. A little bit annoying to lose a Great Catcher, but we know there's another one in deck, so there's always a chance we can just draw into it right now. There's a Switch, which is another thing we could definitely use, and the Viridium, which is another thing we really wanted, because that'll let us get to the metal energy that we need for our, god damn it, for the Ultra Necrozma. That is the word I was looking for, Ultra Necrozma. So our opponent's going to try and find a switch here, and then they'll be able to go for the Full Metal Wall GX. Do you see a Swell? Okay, our opponent is kind of hitting the nuts out of this. I'm very surprised. I didn't think they'd be able to get this much going for them off of this turn. But, I mean, sure, like, it's just, I guess, how the game works sometimes. I don't feel too pressured just yet. We just got to see what my opponent wants to do here. They hit a Pokemon Catcher Heads, and they bring up a Malamar. Alright. Sure. Now, Jet Needle isn't affected by weakness or resistance, which means we should get still get a good bit of chip off on the Luke Metal. So, I'm busy, I'll talk to you in a sec. We didn't see a pass, so this is quite strong for us now. This does open the door for us just to be able to get a knockout on this Jirachi, and then even if we put the Zacian or the Luke Metal up, we can just proceed to get a knockout on them afterwards. So we're going to bump the stadium for sure, and then we're going to bring the Jirachi back into active. So how many switches have I used? I just want to make sure of this. I think that was my first one. Cool. So I should have 3 more still to use. So we are going to Stellar Wish here, and okay, we find the Ordinary Rod, which is really, really good. So Ordinary Rod's fantastic because that is going to get us back the Ultra Necrozma, which we definitely want. And that's it. That's all we want back in the deck, is the Ultra Necrozma. I don't think I want to put any energy anywhere. I'm just going to retreat out to the Naganadel again, and we are just going to proceed to Jet Needle to knock out this Jirachi and take a prize. Ooh. Huh. That must be a bug with Stinger, because we already knew the Great Catcher was in... that's odd, but knowing that it was in the prize is cool. I mean, definitely a bug, but definitely we just took complete advantage of that. I still think we're in a good position to just win this game on the next turn, depending on what the Lucario Melmetal wants to do here. Like I said, they still have to take 3 prizes, and so what I can kind of do is just sit here, let them knock out my Naganadel eventually, and then I can just charge up something to just win the game. That Absol is a little bit annoying, however, we can just attach the Psychic in hand to Jirachi and go from there. They're going to Full Metal Wall this turn anyway, so we can just afford to attach to Jirachi and then just pass. We have no other Ultra Beasts in play, so Beast Raid will never do any damage of significance due to them having a Frying Pan and going for Full Metal Wall. So our path to victory is quite a simple one. We actually have 2 paths to victory, funnily enough. We can also just knock out the Zacian with the Ultra Necrozma, or even the Mewtwo copying Ultra Necrozma to win the game. If they ever bench into Dene as well, that is the fastest way we can win this game. So, I mean, hell, if they're quick balling for a Dene right now, I am all for it. I would assume they're going to grab a Jirachi, though, if anything, at this stage of the game. Yep, it is a Jirachi, fair enough. They would not want to bench a Dene right now, that would be kind of stupid. So yeah, we can attach the Jirachi, we see a Full Metal Wall, this is fine. I still feel like we are in an incredibly strong position, we should probably win this game. All we have to do here is attach an energy to this Jirachi and then pass. That's all we have to do. Because if they have Pokemon Catch and knock us out, so be it. My expectation is they're going to switch, knock us out with Zacian, and then we just send up the Jirachi and we go for it at that stage. So our primary target is the Luca Metal. Now the Luca Metal is currently on 320. Zacian, if it's brought to the active, will be a much easier target since it's on 280. Now with 280, what it would require though is a lot of energy, which we might not actually have access to. Our opponent whiffs the catcher this turn. I just realized we might lose this game. We'll see. The thing that we could also win with is the fact that we could 2-shot the Luke Metal with Mewtwo. If they don't have a way to retreat it, like if they knock out Naga and I can get to Reset Stamp, because there's one more Reset Stamp in the deck. If I can get to that, that'd be great. I don't mind them mining me here. Like I said, I have 2 Great Catchers in deck, and I know that one was mined before, so there's a good chance we can find it again soon. There it is. And we hit Latios, which is fantastic. We see a Crushing Hammer Heads, which kind of sucks, but we do have a switch in hand, so it's not too detrimental. We do have a Latios we could use, but the Tag Poach is kind of useless when there is a Zacian in the back. So we're kind of in a bad spot because our opponent on that turn where I thought I'd lock them and had the game kind of wrapped up were able to get themselves out of it with double Saucer. But at the same time, I think we still can win this, depending on what they're about to do. Are they going to Steel Fist the Naganadel, or are they going to attach to the Zacian, use a switch card, and then Brave Blade? Because if they Brave Blade, what is my next thing? They just Steel Fist. So Steel Fist is actually good for us at this stage, I think. Another option we kind of have in this matchup is potentially, I don't think Blacephalon would get the job done though, because I need 50 damage spread before that, which I just can't really do. I kind of like the premise of switching the Jirachi into active and then researching, but I also think like the way that I win this game is by letting Naga die, unless what I do this turn is I bring the Jirachi into active. I know that he has a Malolana though, right? So it'd be forcing the Malolana out if I did this. Now I know that I have a bunch of switches still in deck, so I think this is fine. So we're going to bring the Jirachi into active, for sure. We're going to bring the Jirachi into active, and then we're going to go with triple recharge. So Naga is going to be the attacker of choice, and we're going to force him to Malolana into his Zacian, and then we're going to go from there. And I think that gives us a path to victory. Because my whole premise in this matchup is that my opponent might not be able to knock me out with both of this Pokemon. And if that's the case, then I have a clear sight to victory. Yep, we've got the Venom Shot Naga in the discard, so we are going to Professor's Research here. We were kind of hoping to hit a form of energy to allow the Jirachi to retreat. It currently can't retreat, which is a little bit scary. I believe we've already used the Viridian Forest to bump Stadium, so I don't think it's like super needed right now. I will Quick Ball away the Giratina, because this can get us into Ultra Neck. Yeah, Ultra Neck. Alright, no, so Ultra Neck can win against Zacian if Zacian's brought into the active. So we'll grab Ultra Neck right now. And I guess we'll just Stellar Wish to see if we can hit a switch. We don't. So I feel like we have a few more switches in deck, but we just haven't been able to hit them. Bit of a shame. We are going to lose Jirachi this turn, and then next turn becomes incredibly annoying because I want all the energy off this Naganadel, but I now have no way to do that, and that's just really not great. It means that I'll have some energy in discard, but not enough to probably do all the things that I want to do. So I think we may be in a position where we lose the game now. The only chance that we have, I don't think there's many chances left now. That's really bad that we whiffed a switch. Let's see, how many are in discard? Only 2. So in a 13 card deck, I mean, potentially they could be prized, but I don't know, the likelihood of that doesn't seem very high. Alright, so next turn, what are we going to do? The issue is now all this energy is stuck on my Naganadel. I was hoping to bring it up to the active this turn and get a knockout. I mean, the only other chance maybe that I have is that my opponent doesn't have a Metal Energy in hand. It seems very unlikely. We do see a Cynthia and Caitlyn, so it means they're probably just going to be able to find their energy and go from there. How can we respond? We have a couple of options. We can use Fireworks Bomb Blacephalon, but then we don't have another way of attacking with it. If we held on to that Ordinary Rod, we could use Fireworks Bomb Blacephalon. That would have been good, but at the same time our opponent is on 3 prizes, and if they knocked out anything on our board, could have been trouble. Potentially not having a Malamar down could have been better. It's hard to say, as we are going to see them go for the Metal Fist, I think it's called, Heavy Impact. So they're going to Heavy Impact. The issue that we have is that we have 1 Aurora and 1 Metal left potentially in the deck. We need to find them, but the other issue is that we don't have a lot of energy in the discard right now, so we need to find Psychic Energy as well. So we need to find a lot of things and a lot of ways to get those things into the discard, which is not easy because they keep putting down Swells. So, wait, do they just give me a chance to win? That's crazy. There is a chance to win now. It's very unlikely though. So Geyser has a chance. Okay, Geyser's got a chance, but yeah, it's going to require a lot of bullshittery. Okay, we draw into a Psychic Energy, that's pretty good. We have the reset stamp, which is also great. Because if we force a manual retreat, then we have an option to winning, right? So here's what I'm thinking. I think I have to actually ditch the Ultra Necrozma this turn to get the Mewtwo into my hand. So I got to hope that my other Mewtwo isn't prized here. Okay, it's not. Fantastic. I have the Metal and I have the Aurora still in my deck as well. So that's great. The other option I have here is actually grabbing Mimikyu and declaring Copycat and then being able to Venom Shot. That doesn't seem as good. I think I need to grab Mewtwo this turn. So I want to grab Mewtwo this turn, and what I'd like to be able to do if I can though is the big question. I might be able to. What I'd like to do is I'd like to hit this with Night Watch. That would be ideal. So that's the plan here. So I have how many energy in discard? 1. So I'm going to get a second one in the discard now with Research. And I can recharge back 2, and I just need to attach 1 for turn. So we're going to reset stamp for sure. Definitely going to reset stamp. And then definitely throwing the Research out there. Okay, we hit the energy we need. That's fantastic. So we can attach. We can recharge twice. And then we leave our opponent in a top deck situation, right? And then we retreat out to the Mewtwo. We don't want to waste a switch yet. We're going to retreat out to the Mewtwo because that gives us another energy to use next turn if needed. And then we just go for the Night Watch here. The damage is decreased, so it'll do like 90, I think. But we shuffle back in 2 very important cards. Our opponent is in top deck mode. And now I think we have a good chance to win. Because if they can't... Even if they retreat out to Luke Metal, which is exactly what they're doing, or they're retreating out to Jirachi here, they need a way to Gust and a way to attach. And I just have to hope they don't hit any kind of good supporter here to give us a chance. They hit a Marnie, that's okay. Marnie, we can deal with. It's not ideal, but we can work with Marnie. Because we have only 4 cards left to draw. Okay, and we get the Aurora, which is incredibly important here. So, let's see. I think we barely missed the knockout on the Zacian. But we don't need to worry about that as much right now, because the other situation, he's in a Crushing Hammer, he misses, that's great. The other situation we have is that there is a lot of energy now, well, not a lot of energy, there's 1 energy in the discard that we could recharge to Mewtwo, and then we could also attach an energy with the Aurora, and that would give us 4, which if discarded is 320 damage, but that is not enough to pick up this Luca Metal. We would be 20 damage short of a knockout. We'd need to find another way. So if we could draw into our other switch, then we can probably win. Because we can switch Mewtwo into Naganadel, retreat Naganadel into a Malamar, recharge up the Mewtwo, and then switch the Malamar into the Mewtwo, and then Geyser would just win us the game. It's a lot to ask for. It could happen. If they attack with Zacian, we win. We do see Luke Metal come up, and we do see a Stillness. Okay, so this is the big turn. This is the big turn of the game, right? Because we can win this turn. So can I do it in this current situation? I don't think so. Because I can switch Mewtwo out to Naganadel. So okay, here's the other thing I can do though. So I guess the other question is, they have 2 prizes left. If I serve up a Malamar to them as a knockout, is that an option? So, is the frying pan always affecting damage, or is it only if it's in the active? Because Venom Shot is just gonna miss, right? Because Full Metal Wall takes less damage from attacks. Yeah. So what are we gonna do? I think we attach the Aurora for sure. Discard the Jirachi to do that. Now, Photon Geyser gets so close to knockout, but it won't actually get us there. So what I think we have to do, the line of victory, I think, we know there is one more switch in the deck. We know there's one more. So I think the way that we win this game is we switch Meganadel into the active, right? And then we retreat Meganadel out to a Malamar. And then we recharge energy onto the Mewtwo. Okay, so the way I'm playing this is that my opponent has 2 cards left in hand. As far as I know, they've played only 2 Pokemon catches, but they don't have a way of bringing Jirachi up to the active here, so I'm just going to pass. Because I know that in 5 cards, I have a 1 in 5 chance hitting my Switch, and my Switch just wins the game against anything they have. Because of the Full Metal Wall, I am 20 damage short from knocking out that Zacian right now, because it is, like I said, at the 280 mark, and I'm also 1 energy short that turn of being able to knock out his Luca Metal. If I had drawn into my other Switch, I would have had absolute game. Now, there is a chance that we could lose. If I can get through this turn, I think I'll win. So my opponent is hunting for a Switch. I think they have the Malolana in hand, though. So they're just hunting for a way to Gust, maybe? I don't know. They don't have custom catches. We see them add something. I think it was a Tag Call. So they can switch with Malolana. If they knock out this Malamar with Zacian, then we win with Mewtwo copying Ultra Necrozma. Whew, this is a hell of a game. It all is very much coming down to this turn. We do see a Whirlpool Suction. That is fine. Whirlpool Suction does not bother me in the slightest at this stage, just because of the fact that they just need Gust, right? They need Gust, a Switch, and an Energy Attachment, and they win the game. Because they can just knock out the Dene, Naga, or Mewtwo with their Zacian. The only other hope is maybe they don't have any more energy they can use. Like, there's 2 on that Zacian, and there's 6 in the discard. I'm not sure how many energy they run. But I'm going to see a Whirlpool Suction. I'm just bringing up a Malamar, to be honest with you. They may be doing this to free room up to use it to Dene, potentially. I'm not 100% sure. Okay, we see a Quick Ball come out. Could be forward to Dene. We see... Oh, well, that's a deck. See a Zacian added. That's not super big of a deal. So it could come down to this turn right now, because we have the Great Catcher still in hand. So if we draw into... Well, I think we have the other Great Catcher still, don't we? No, it's discarded. So if they just leave the Jirachi inactive, then that is a way we can lose the game as well, because we don't have a good way to knock out the Jirachi. But they might deck out before us. Probably not. We're in a tough spot now. They've put us into a very tricky position. We can kind of draw past for a little bit. They attach to Luke Metal, and they Intrepid Sword. So they're either hunting for Gust, or I don't know what they're hunting for here. They have the energy. We know that they could mill out before us, though, so let's see. We hit a Switch. Hitting the Switch this turn sucks, because we need just one more turn. If we can hang on for one more turn, we can Great Catch a Switch and win the game. So that's what we have to hope for. We're going to pass, and we're going to see. It all comes down to this turn. My opponent either wins this turn, or I win. Do they have a means to victory? They just need a way to switch, and there's a Gust attempt with the Pokemon Catcher. It fails. Ooh, that's really important. That was their 3rd Pokemon Catcher. So 2 cards left in deck. They can take a knockout this turn with a way to switch. They've used all their sources. They've used 3 catches. They have an energy attachment for turn, so they can retreat and attack. But then Mewtwo knocks out whatever attacks. They needed to gust this turn in order to win. Do they have a gust in hand to win the game? They have a Malamar to heal. That's not going to save them, though, I don't think. Because we do 80 for each card discarded, so we discard all those Psychics, and we should just win the game with Mewtwo. So they're just going to sit on this Jirachi, and they're probably just going to try and draw into... So they've used a manual retreat, and they've used a switch card already. So I think they can't afford to Intrepid Sword here, right? We'll lose if the two cards in their hand are Switch and a Pokemon Catcher and they hit heads. So we're just going to pray. This has been an hour-long video. Okay, I think we have game. I think we got it because we can Great Capture away the Blacephalon and the Absol. We can switch the Mewtwo into the active. And then I believe Photon Geyser gets the knockout because it's every Psychic Energy. That does a whopping 340, which is enough for the knockout, and we are going to somehow seal that game. That is an incredibly hard matchup to win. I think I may be overextended putting down maybe it's a Dene and one too many Malamars, but if we were able to get them without them getting off that Full Metal Wall turn after the Stinger, then the game was on lock. I definitely don't regret the plays that I made. We were able to get the dub, so clean sweep with the Malamar deck. It's kind of crazy. This deck I feel is really strong. Obviously Luke Metal is a tough matchup. You can find ways around it to win though, and obviously regular Malamar is a pretty tricky matchup, but still I believe winnable because you can use your own Giratina to chip all their bench, and then because you have access to the Sky Scorching Light from your Ultra Necrozma, and you also have access to Blacephalon of your own, I think you can set up your opponent in a way where you can just win the game. You just don't bench any of your big hitters. It's pretty straightforward, I think. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll catch you in the next one. Anyway, I'm the Bird. I'm out.